So that's me, recently started League of Legends. Little bit of a backstory on me. I'm still pretty new to gaming, but I quickly turned into a god gamer in every game I play, so I think I'm very qualified to give you tips about League of Legends. So here's some of my best clips I've hit. Flank, 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 flank. The part we saw we could go. Let's go. The bullseye, highest headshot percentage. That's the Valorant player in me, guys. That's the Valorant player. Dot B. Yeah, they're all A, all of them A. Who the fuck's that B? Alright, so now that we got my credentials out of the way, let's jump into the explaining. Alright, so in very simple terms, basically League of Legends is just 2 teams of 5 playing against each other to destroy the other's base. The base is basically the big crystal thing. They call it Nexus. If you destroy them, you win. To get to them, you have 3 different lanes: top lane, middle lane, and bot lane. And in between all of that is the jungle. Now, before you even get into the game, you get to pick your character according to the different lanes. So you can see it says top, jungle, mid, support, and bottom. I will get into the rules in a second, but basically you just pick your character and you also get to ban one character, which is very important. Don't ban your teammates' characters, because I've done that before since I didn't know. So watch out what your team wants to play and then ban other characters that you don't want to play against because they're annoying. You will also get to pick different runes and certain skills that I will explain to you in a second as well. Alright, let's get to top lane. Top lane players are usually very tanky, big bongo players. They only fight in a 1v1. On top lane, you will be solo, except for when your jungler decides to help you. Your job is basically to just farm minions and leave the other guy alone, kinda. I know top laners don't want to hear this, but basically you kind of just play like AFK arena, and then later game, maybe you have some impact in the game. It depends. Literally the best thing you can do for your team in top lane is just simply not die and not feed the enemy. And even if you die and feed the enemy, it honestly doesn't matter. The cool thing about League of Legends is that you can always blame your teammates for everything. In this case, you would also just simply blame your jungler for not helping you. Even if you went 0 and 10, you can always just blame your jungler. Honestly, it doesn't matter what lane you're on. You can always just blame the jungler. That's a very important rule to remember. It's always the jungler's fault. Alright, next lane is gonna be mid lane, and it's basically kind of the complete opposite from top lane. So on top lane, you can kind of just sit back, relax, call it a day. Mid lane is the complete opposite. You are exposed to everything. You are in the middle of the lane, you can get jungled, flanked, ganked, whatever, everywhere. There's always gonna be someone on your lane. It's possible you even already lost the lane before you started the game by picking the complete wrong champion, because mid lane is generally just champion dependent. Like, you pick the wrong champion, it's just over. It's just simply over. They are extremely strong, and if your enemy just does one fucking little bit of damage more than you, you're just not gonna win anymore. So honestly, this lane is, I would say, the definition of skill issue if you lose it. That being said, it has positive sides as well. It's quite versatile. You are in the middle. That means you can also like flank back and attack, for example, like bot lane. You can also go into the jungle technically. This whole situation going on mid usually gives the mid laner a big ass fucking god complex, so they are not the most fun people to play with in team play. So just watch out for that, especially if they have one of the white characters, aka Yone and Yasuo. They might be the most insufferable people on the planet, and they will blame the entire rest of the team for everything. Yeah, so basically mid lane is just either you dominate or you get absolutely dominated. There's no in between. You might just have to like call your losses at some point and just go help somewhere else if you just can't do anything in mid. Alright, before we get to the last 3 roles, quick pop-up quiz, because I've already used some terms that I wanted to explain real quick. Ganking basically means when your jungler comes to help to your lane. So you saw how on the map, like, the jungle is just in between everything, and when your jungler ganks, he basically comes to your lane, be it bottom, top, or mid, and he helps you kill the person who's on there. Speaking of jungler, I've never played jungle before, but his role is basically just walking around the jungle, doing the little camps to level up. He gets some buffs for the team, and he's supposed to like help on the lanes, but honestly, junglers rarely do that. Most of the time they just chill in the bushes, except for the enemy jungle. You will notice they're quite fast. The enemy jungle somehow is always very aggressive, while your jungle is always in god fucking knows where. That's okay though. Remember rule number 1, you can always blame the jungler, so it's okay. Honestly, there's nothing really else he does. He can have big ass impact if he actually decides to do something. He can definitely turn a game around, but he needs to be strong enough for that. He will also be the one mostly initiating fights with the dragons that are across the map. I will get to that later when I explain the actual gameplay. But he's someone who kind of helps the team get more gold, more buffs and stuff like that as well. So he's very much the team player. But if you have a bad jungler, then that also just means the game is kind of over. So yeah, as a jungler, you basically just get to like frolic around the jungle and the grassy greens while your entire team is yelling at you for doing everything wrong. Honestly, I would just put on a Pitbull playlist if I was playing jungle and like mute my entire team before the game even starts. And then you can have a pretty fun game as a jungle. Like he's very versatile. He can like walk through the entire map. It's quite fun, but just know you will be blamed for everything that happens in a game. Alright, now for the last lane and the last 2 roles you can play. For bot lane, you can either play support or ADC. Support, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. ADC stands for attack, damage, carries. Bot lane is the only lane where you will have 2 people on lane at all times, maybe 3 if your jungler decides to help. So you're always in a 2v2, which is different from all the other lanes where you're usually in a 1v1, or you're just running through the jungle. That being said, bot lane usually does end up in like 3v2 or 1v3 usually, because somehow support and ADC are usually fighting like an old married couple and blaming each other for everything that goes wrong on bot lane. And like I said earlier, the jungler is probably also lurking in some sort of corner already because the enemy jungler is always ready to gank, while my jungler is probably still in spawn. So yeah, what we do on bot lane is basically just farm minions like you always do, just get money, level up. Maybe if you have a good timing, also try to get like a little bit of an advantage by killing some of the enemies. You do have a support with you, which means you usually have a stun, concuss or something to like immobilize the enemy, which makes it easier to take 2v1 into 1v2 because one of them is immobile. That being said, bot lane usually ends up just with the support carrying the lane because the ADC is somehow already inting like 2 seconds into the game. Inting, quick pop-up quiz, inting basically just means they're like running it down, kind of like dying very uselessly, trying to take fights that they can't win and stuff like that. This is also kind of directly like connected to feeding. So if you int and you feed the enemy kills by dying to them, you're feeding technically because then they get more money. Which you shouldn't do. So while it seems easier to have a teammate with you on bot lane than just solo fight on other lanes, it also makes it more difficult because you have to keep track of 2 enemies as well and maybe a jungler, which is why it's very important to use your wards on bot lane to just have lights in the jungle so you can see where there's a jungler coming. Okay, so that was all the roles. Quick reminder, bot lane, basically 2 people, support, big damage. Jungler, just running around the map all the time. Top, basically just 1v1 minion farming, not really too much action. Mid is basically just like everything at once. So that's all the roles. You get to pick one before the game. And now we jump into the actual game and how it works. Alright, so this is what it looks like when you like load into the game. You have the lineup with your team on top and the enemy team at the bottom. And you have all the different roles lined up perfectly. So all the way to the right is support. Then there's the ADC. In the middle is the middle. Then you have jungler. Then to the left you have the top lane fighters. So it's always like lined up perfectly which one you are basically fighting, which is your counterpart. You can also see like the runes they brought and the spells they brought. For runes, I would honestly just look at like some guides. There's a lot of guides online. I don't know all the runes either. I usually just look it up for the character I'm playing. And for spells, you basically only need to know at the beginning. The yellow one means they can teleport away. So they have one, I guess, like get out alive ticket if they make it. They have one teleport. It has a long cooldown. And the other one depends. Like there's a bunch of different ones. I would just read through them. Alright, now you've made it into the actual game. So you get like a little bit of a buy menu. You can open this only in spawn. Only while you're in spawn you can buy things. You always get like starter items. So you only have a choice between, I think it's usually 2 or 3 items you can choose from. And honestly, I would look up guides here as well. You will learn pretty fast which ones are the best one, but it depends on every character, so I can't say it. But you only have like 2 starter items basically you can decide on. which ones you want to buy. All right, now we get into the actual game. This is my own gameplay that I had a while ago. I sped it up at some parts, but I hope it's maybe a little bit easier to follow what happens when you can see like the way the actual game plays out. Obviously, it's just one game. It always happens differently. But I will give like tips and ideas how you could have played it differently, or how like in other games it might have been more useful to do something else. So yeah, we just start out in the spawn, and then we go to all our different lanes. You can see it on the map. Everybody's moving to their lanes. I'm going bot lane with my ADC carry, which in this case is Tristana. What we do here though is we go into jungle first, actually, because sometimes when your jungler is going bot lane with you, you want to help them get like their first camps in the jungle. So maybe it's good to hide in a jungle for like the first few minutes in case they need help with their jungle camp. Alright, since our jungle decided to go in the top jungle though, we can just go into our bot lane. We don't need to help anyone, so we just hide in the grass. Fun fact, they cannot see you in the grass. As you can see, there's like dark spots to the left, like they can't see you in the grass, except for when they put lights. This is my jungler, so you guys can see what they do. This is what mid lane looks like. I was playing bot, so I'm mostly gonna focus on bot lane right now, but I'm gonna show you guys a bit of different gameplay in between. So what we do now here is basically just minion farming. You can only level up if you kill minions or like stand close to like other minions killing minions. One thing that's really important about minion farming is that you need to get the last hit. So that means when a minion is like really low, you need to be the one to kill the minion, because that's the only way you can get the gold. You can level up by just standing close to minions, dying, but you cannot get the gold from it. So it's really important to learn when to time in the last hit so you can get the minions. You can see us kind of trying this here, especially the big minions. They're called cannons. They give you even more gold than the smaller ones. And one thing that's important as a support, you don't really want a last hit, because then you take away the level from your ADC, and you want your ADC to level up first, because obviously he's doing the damage. So as a support, you usually just run around more or less and like try to keep back the other people with your skills. So yeah, that's basically just the first few minutes of the game. It's just minion farming, maybe pushing up. We actually pushed up pretty far in the lane here. But yeah, it's just a little bit of minion farming here. I was trying to show you guys here, I got 14 gold for getting the last hit on the minion. And for the other minion that didn't die, I didn't get gold. So just so you guys like can see that real quick. In the meantime, let's look at mid. It looks a little bit different. You can see like the lane is different here. So they're also just doing minion farming at the moment, but they're kind of close. This is more or less like not really mid thing though. This is just like because of the characters they picked. They're more like in fighting territory, but they're also just doing minion farming at the beginning. And as you can see, this is because of the dark spots to the left and the right side of mid is why it's dangerous to get like flanked by a jungler or surprised by them. Now we can take a look at top lane. He's already pushed up pretty far as well. He's just going with the minion waves. And one thing I want to explain here real quick. First of all, I just said a minion wave. So minions respawn in like a certain amount of waves. You can see it on the map. They always push from our spawn there or from the enemy spawn to that point. So it's always important to kind of like keep track of when the minions are coming, because they can be like a body shield for you, I guess. They can also protect you. But it's also important to not lose too many waves, because you're just not going to get the gold, and then you're at like a big disadvantage compared to your opponent. What you could see here a little bit, so the tower is what you want to destroy to make it there, because the tower can shoot you and the minions, and they do a lot of damage, so be careful, especially at the beginning and early rounds. You can easily die to this tower. But the tower only attacks what's closest to it. So you can see how my teammate is standing back really far here behind the minions. That's very smart to do. You should always be doing that. Always stand behind a minion. So the tower attacks the minions first and you don't take any damage. Always keep track of that you don't stand too close to it. And the minions will also automatically always attack the tower. And you also get gold for destroying the tower. Now immediately one more important lesson, I already talked about this a lot in the video, and that's the impact of the jungler. You can see the jungler just realized, oh, someone pushed up really far on top lane. They're already on the turret, like maybe I should be helping here. So the jungler decides to gank, making the top lane instead of a 1v1, a 2v1, and my teammate honestly doesn't really have any chance here. You can take the kill there, it's not that bad. Usually in early game, maybe it's better to stay back a little bit so you don't get surprised like this. But honestly, it's okay to die there. It's not that bad. It was first blood, but I mean, it happens as well. Your goal should always be to not die, but sometimes it's okay. You should not tilt yourself because of one death. It happens as well. It's okay. Sometimes you just get really unlucky. Here you can see the lovely opposite. I'm looking at my jungler. I thought he was going to help me because they pushed up really far on my lane and I'm in a 1v2. But as you can see, my jungle didn't help. That's okay. That happens. I'm obviously not blaming my jungle for that. That's when he pushes up then later on and we actually end up getting a kill. So it's okay. And now you can also see the impact of jungler. Look, the jungler just got a kill on top lane and they're already bot lane as well again to help their teammates here. So junglers are really versatile and really mobile. So you should always keep an eye out for them. But yeah, we actually defended that pretty well. Now we're just doing a bunch of minion farming, so I'm just like skimming through this. In the meantime, always like try to like buy a bunch of different items. It's very important to always stay on track of it. There's a lot of like guides on what to buy with what character online, so I would just look them up. They change for every character, they change every season. I can't really keep on track of it, but yeah, items are really important. One item can keep like change the entire like track of the game. If you buy one good damage item first, then your ADC is just gonna like destroy the lane basically, or like the enemy ADC. So it's really important to keep track of it, but also don't TP back every time you can buy like the smallest thing, because you're gonna lose out on minion waves, obviously, which means you're gonna lose out on more gold. All right, I cut a little bit of it out, but basically it was just more minion farming, and now you're gonna see the first tower being destroyed. This is what it looks like afterwards. It's important to keep track of that because then you don't have the tower to defend yourself. Usually it's pretty good to stay underneath a tower because it's like an extra, I guess, shield for you that like attacks the enemy for you basically and does a lot of damage. So you're usually safe underneath like towers. If you're like alone on a lane, then just stay underneath the tower. Just get rid of the last minion wave that's like pushing the tower and just fight with the tower and wait for your teammates to help instead of just taking a 1v1 fight. Now we're already kind of far into the game. A lot of towers have been destroyed, which you saw just like by scrolling over the map like I just did. So once that happens, you don't need to go to your bot lane, top lane, mid lane, or wherever you were playing anymore. It's good to help out on other lanes then. I mean, obviously still defend your lane. Like right now, I went back bot lane because I saw some minions push up. Usually, like a minion wave can fight a minion wave. It's fine, you don't have to do it. But if you want like extra gold, then go back, do that. But usually when it gets into later game, it just ends up being like team fights, and whichever team comes out on top, I guess, like wins. So I'm staying with my team here, staying a little bit group up, except for here, I see that one of my teammates is all alone, so I try to go help him. One thing you have to consider in late game is dying is bad. Early game, remember how I said it's not that bad, you died that early. That's okay, because the respawn time is very low at the beginning of the game, but the later it gets into the game, the more time it takes for you to respawn. So at a certain point, you will need like 40 seconds to respawn, a minute to respawn, and that has a lot of impact in the game. So now here you can see like there's 3 people pushing me, and I want them to stay back, but I also see I'm alone, and if I die here, I have like a respawn time of 40 seconds, and that could change like the whole outcome of the game, because I'm going to be out of the game for a long time. So I waited for my teammate, I played time, and now we're taking a team fight like together. Even though I kind of bait them here because I was kind of low, so I just left and they're kind of fighting by themselves, but that happens as well. So that's okay. Yeah, and it's just more team fighting at this point. In between, we've taken some of the drakes and dragon things, which are really important. They're in the jungle. I will show you in a second. We will go fight it right now. These things give you money, speed bonus. They give you a bunch of different things that you should like always take if you can. But since there's only 2 on the entire map, 1 on the left side, 1 on the right side, they're obviously fought by the enemy team as well, so you need to be careful to not get like attacked by the enemy team while you're fighting the dragon, especially since they in early game do a lot of damage and you might be low level and they can steal the dragon from you. But these are important to do. They are more or less like for junglers though. So if you're like a jungler, you should keep track of like when they respawn and then like ask your team to go fight them with you, or if you can solo it, but I mean, for beginners, that's probably too tough. So always keep track of them, but it's more for the jungler rule, not really for the other rules. So now we're kind of a late game. You can see it's just a bunch of like fighting, pushing the spawn, waiting for the minion waves because they have the towers there. But we're kind of targeting it, trying to like work with the minion waves. Like I'm going top lane here now because there's still a turret up there. But there's 2 people, so once again I go back. It's important to sometimes like go back. My teammate helps me, and all of a sudden everybody's here, which is also fun. And then we just like kind of go in further. We get the first turret easy, and now we destroyed this thing. And this red thing, the British lady will say, inhibitor destroyed. And this thing spawns the super minions. I will show you guys in a second what the super minions look like. There they are. They're on their way. These have more health. They're stronger. And these waves can help you like really push into spawn. They're really important. So you should try to like get the super minions if you want to push spawn, because otherwise it's tough to finish. But yeah, this is what the super minions look like. So yeah, it's now just fighting. It's honestly just down to the last bits of it, which is like, you know, taking out the last people and then going for the final push and spawn. I know League of Legends at the beginning is a lot. Trust me, I started like, I don't know, like 2 months ago, and I can like just now play ranked. I think I'm like level 30, 32. So anything I've said in this video, honestly, take it with a grain of salt. I am a noob, and I'm just trying to explain it in like easier terms. At least I thought I did. I hope so. It helped a little bit. But yeah, this is just the final push you can see in the background, which is destroying the final turrets and the nexus, like I explained to you in the beginning. But yeah, don't be overwhelmed. Just take your time to learn the game. You're gonna learn a lot of it. Maybe watch someone who's like not that good at the game yet, so you can like learn better, I guess, because they don't just do everything. They kind of explain what they do. But it's super fun. I can recommend it. And if you want to start your league journey, then tell me in the comments, please.